Some good, some bad, but a pretty damn good ending. I'm John Rentham with my review of AEW Dynamite, the ANniVarsity show. I'm going to have some stuff I'm going to have to slam here, though, because if some of the comedy and some of the bullshit was on WWE television that was on this show, it would get killed, and rightfully so. But let me know what you think of the first year of AEW. Answers in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think have been some of the highlights, some of the lowlights? Because this was a frustrating show because there were good parts to a show. I'm glad to see that they're building towards full gear. I'm excited for that card, what they're going to do with Kingston and Mox, the tag team division, and a couple other things. The 8-man tournament that they've got going on. Well, 7 and Janela. But it's frustrating because they can't always put together a cohesive 2 hours of television. And some of the fans just were like, what the fuck? What in the world was this? And I'm going to talk about how they should have done the TNT Championship build, at least in my personal opinion. But JR, Shivani, and Excalibur on commentary. We cut to Penelope and Kip playing an arcade game because Kip and Miro both have Twitch channels. Best Friends and FTR are already in the ring. Tully Blanchard is in FTR's corner. AEW Tag Team Championship match. Chuck should have been the one to get the shit beat out of him. Trent should have been the one to get the hot tag and make the comeback and everything. In my opinion, Chuck looks like shit. He physically looks like shit. He's not very good in the ring. Trent's a star. FTR are a great goddamn team. I don't know why they did the super backdrop spot. That looked really painful. Everybody get in here. The trio DDT spots I did not care for. And then Brainbuster and Chuck on the outside, and then it's Cash and Trent that are suddenly near where the arcade is. They go over the barricade and they're right there, and Trent does, a big running boot, but he ends up kicking the arcade console and it explodes. So was there actually anything playing in the arcade, or were they just pretending? I would really like to know. I don't know how in the world they could have been playing something unless it was like, remote power. I really don't fucking get it. Regardless, why was an arcade console there? Oh, so they could make it a stupid prop and kind of wreck a tag team championship match that should have been pretty damn good. Now, that being said, the match is still good, but then Kip says, Penelope, go get him. And then we get a distraction finish where FTR, gets ref out of position, belt shot, 1, 2, 3, they get the victory. I like that. That's old school. I like that. But then Miro comes down and, to avenge the arcade game being destroyed, and he lays out the Best Friends along with Kip. And then we get Sean Maluda and Lee Johnson back from commercial, and Miro and Kip Sabian basically beat them in about a couple minutes. Okay, that's fine, except, for fuck's sake, Miro is avenging an arcade game, and Kip Sabian, who I think is a pretty damn good talent, says, Alan meant everything to me. Alan, the arcade game. If this was on WWE television, it would get killed. This was fucking stupid. I get that they're video game nerds. They love video games. Nothing wrong with video games. I love old school video games. Suikoden is one of my favorite RPG series. Or actually pretty much my favorite RPG series ever. Really, maybe next to Final Fantasy. And I like video games. I get the appeal of it. I don't understand why you fucking do this, because this is just bad comedy. This is just bad comedy all around. It's not entertaining. It doesn't make Miro look like a badass, and he looked like a badass in the match. It's just stupid. Like, why? You had to have paid a pretty handsome fee for this guy. $500,000 at least, I'm imagining. I mean, at least 250 to 500,000, because I doubt he comes cheap. And just, seriously, it's fucking stupid. They're saying, oh, the Miro says game over. This is dumb. This is really dumb. I want to cheer for Miro in AEW. I mean, I even if him and Kip are supposed to be heels, I don't want to think of them as goofy. You can be video game people, but you can be like, Kip can play the smarmy heel, Miro can play the badass cleanup guy. This ain't a good way to book them, at least in my opinion. And then we cut backstage to Archer beating up Moxley while Jake just wanders around. Jake Roberts had no idea where he was at, I'm pretty certain. And here's a tournament field. Penta versus Phoenix in the first round. Omega versus Janela. Seriously, the best you could do is Janela. Put Kazarian in there. Put Daniels in there. Put Scorpio Sky in there. Put Sonny Kiss in there. I think Sonny Kiss and Omega would at least be an athletic display. Janela physically looks like shit and can't do anything. Colt versus Page. That ought to be interesting. And then Wardlow versus Jungle Boy. Well, that'll maybe be 5 minutes tops. It's going to be Page versus Omega in the finals, obviously. And then Omega's going to win. And then Omega's going to beat Moxley. And then they're going to have Omega versus Page, say, in May. It'll probably be at the May pay-per-view. So, we then get MJF's groundbreaking announcement. Let me try that again. Sammy has an oversized jacket, which I guess was comedy. This was bad comedy. And I like MJF. Jericho I've kind of soured on, but he puts over Jericho. MJF calls himself the ratings ruler and says that, oh, Jericho's sitting at home watching Animal Planet, says, I hate Animal Planet. It's like, oh, we're like piranhas, we're fucking predators. Hopefully not fucking predators. We don't need predators reproducing. They're kind of gross creatures. What if we work together? How about I join the inner circle eventually after saying this stuff and everything? And I believe it's Ortiz that said, well, you're just here jerking Jericho's chain. We don't want him in the group. And Jericho says, hey, how about we have a one-on-one steak dinner next week? Chris Jericho is torpedoing his goddamn career. Not that he wasn't goofy in WCW and, in WWE quite a bit. Not that he didn't, spin straw in the gold. There ain't nothing here. Now, here's what it's going to lead to, though. This is the one positive. It's going to lead to MJF and Chris Jericho having a match at Full Gear. Inner Circle is going to align with MJF, and Jericho's going to be left on island. And it's going to be like, okay, MJF is like the young lion that has overtaken the leader of the Pride. That's what it's going to be. I'd be very surprised if they stretch it out past Full Gear. Because at this point, they need to do something to freshen up the Inner Circle that still has Jake Hager there, as bland as he fucking is. This segment didn't work for me. Even though I can see the end game, and I hope that MJF does become the leader, I think MJF's almost better on his own. Because there's too many factions. Way too many factions. The Inner Circle's still better than the Dark Order, though. And don't worry, I'm going to mention them here in a bit. The worst thing, though, came next. Shivani is interviewing Britt Baker. Shivani, while they're getting facials and massages and stuff like that, and Shivani gets a chest wax after it has become obvious, and Shivani's holding the microphone doing this and everything, while him and Britt are getting facials. No, that's not a euphemism. Reba's all shocked and everything. Wait, Shivani, are you naked? They're like, oh, gross, and this guy's having he's getting a chest wax, and why is Shivani being part of this? And I love Shivani. I think Tony Schiavone has had a career resurgence here, but why? To what end? Why is he Britt Baker's friend? Why does Britt bring him along? There's nothing wrong with trying to get some comedic elements here, only if they work. It's like the tooth and nail match, which I fucking hated. Absolutely hated. And that has kind of soured me on Britt Baker. Good fucking God. But this was dumb. This was really, really fucking dumb in my opinion. What was also dumb was Orange Cassidy versus Cody for the TNT Championship. Now I want to explain why before I talk about how I didn't like the match. If you're a fan of Orange Cassidy, that's great. I'm not a fan, but that's okay. You guys like him. I don't. We can disagree. Here's how they should have done it. Remember how Brody, had a somewhat competitive match with Orange Cassidy and then Cody came back? How about they do this instead? They did it totally backwards. Brody Lee beats the shit out of Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy gets a shit beat out of him by the Dark Order on the stage. And then Brody Lee, Orange Cassidy decides to continue, have the match. He maybe gets him one shot. Brody Lee beats him in a minute. Okay. And then Cody makes his comeback. And then you have Brody and Cody, which is really, really difficult to say, have their dog collar match. Cody wins. Okay. Orange Cassidy then comes out. And without saying, basically, like, the implication is, I never got my fair shot. Let me get this. And then you do this. But to me, they didn't do it right. And now all they've done is they've had Cody, a diminished Cody, face Orange Cassidy, who got the shit beat out of him by Brody. But except Cody's a champion now. And this match wasn't good. And Cody's blonde again for some reason. And the nepotism project is there. Brandy Rhodes is one of the most charisma, lacking people I have ever goddamn seen. I was going to say charismaless, but I don't think that's actually a word. She lacks so much goddamn charisma and takes it away from anybody she's around. I just don't fucking get why she's there. She's worse than Stephanie at her absolute worst as an on-screen character. And that's fucking saying something. The beginning was shit. Yes, Orange Cassidy does all this stuff and everything. This chick's old to me, and I don't like it. All the Dark Order was at ringside. Silver tries to interfere. Orange Cassidy stops him. Anna Jay, I thought was going to attack Brandy. She doesn't. Dark Order gets kicked out. Cody hits a Cody cutter, focuses on the knee. We get a reverse superplex. Orange Cassidy tries a comeback, hits an air raid crash to the beach break on the apron, the hardest part of the ring, and hits another beach break, almost gets a victory, gets that spider trap, whatever, in 1, 2, and then the time limit draw. So Cody and Orange Cassidy go to a time limit draw after all the booking that I talked about before happened, and it makes no goddamn sense. It's fucking stupid, and I don't get it. They did it backwards. They did it wrong. Marvez interviews Archer and Roberts, which is immediately interrupted by Jon Moxley, and there we go. Shivani then interviews Matt and his family, and then suddenly there's footage of somebody burning pictures of Matt Hardy. It's Sammy Guevara. This feud is not over. It's not going to be over until Sammy says he sends Matt home personally or permanently. He almost fucking did, even inadvertently. Okay, it was me, Matt. It was me all along. Not exactly it was me, Austin. It was me all along. And we get a drawing to determine which 4 tag teams will fight to face FTR next. Private Party, Silver and Reynolds, Butcher and Blade, and Young Bucks. And the Bucks are acting all like badasses, even though they aren't. They are not convincing. They were part of one of my favorite matches of the year, but honestly, they are not convincing badasses. They're goddamn whiny little bitches, as far as I'm concerned. And they got fans, that's fine. You're a fan of the Bucks, cool. I'm not. They have a brawl, then super kick Private Party. Okay, cool. All right. It's kind of calling back to when, Private Party knocked them out of the tag team tournament last year. Shida versus Swole, AEW Women's Championship. Referee Aubrey. We are looking forward to having Riho back soon, says Shivani. Who is we exactly? I don't hate Riho, but what? They have I would rather have the Genie Girl, Yuka Sakazaki. She at least has energy. I would rather have Shanna back, or Shanna, I think. I'd rather have a lot of people back. Not Riho. Riho is fine. She's a fine performer. I just don't really care if she's back. Swole is not that good, and this match was very awkward. Very awkward. And Shida. I love Shida. I think Shida's been a great champion. This is not a good match. We get 2 cutters, 1 inside. We get a rope break. We get Dirty Dancing, gets a rope break. And then we get the knee strike for 3, and Shida wins. Cool. Okay, whatever. No. Shida got sent into the camera at one point. That looked pretty deadly. But yeah, Shida wins. Thank fucking Christ. 4-way tag next week. Tournament starts next week. The steak dinner-thon, or whatever the hell it's called. And in 2 weeks, Cody versus Orange Cassidy, round 2, Electric Boogaloo. Eddie Kingston and Lucha Bros join commentary. Well, Eddie Kingston talks, because Lucha Bros didn't. Then we see footage of Sean Spears talking about collecting a debt from Scorpio Sky. Then they change Archer's theme. I am to disappoint. Archer then throws some guy through some glass. I don't really fucking get why. Mox versus Archer. No DQ. AEW Championship match. They announced it was no DQ, I think, during the women's match because they just had to do this. Normally, and you guys might think that I'm going to hammer on it because it's garbage wrestling, hardcore wrestling. No, I actually didn't mind this. I'm going to be quick, though. It was a lot of weapon shots and a lot of, maybe shit that I normally wouldn't like, but it made sense because they built this feud up just fine. It was what it was. All over the ringside, we get a pounce inside, 2 tables stacked, all of a sudden, oh no, what's gonna happen? And then, big German suplex by Mox, we get chair to the head, just a choke slam onto 2 chairs. Yes, it was a little bit too much of the weapon stuff, but it fit, and it kind of reminded me of the match they had in the Dome. I don't want to say a watered-down version, maybe a condensed version of that. Texas Death Match. And then we get a knee bar. We get a garbage can stopping a dive. Paradigm shift through tables. And then 1 in the ring. And then we get the choke. We get a blackout. And then, oh no, he's going to try to do something. And Archer gets caught in a crucifix pin. 1, 2, 3. And there you go. That's it right there. Archer doesn't look weak. He gets pinned. Eddie Kingston sends the Lucha Bros down to help Archer get, to help get Archer away from Moxley. Archer just no-sells this, like, what the fuck is Phoenix doing and hitting me? What the hell is this? And I don't think he said it like that. And then all of a sudden, Eddie Kingston's praising Mox and everything, and then attacks him, spinning back fist, and chokes him out. I never tapped. I like the idea of them facing off at Full Gear. Mox will beat Eddie Kingston. Nothing against Eddie Kingston. He shouldn't be the world champion in AEW, but he's goddamn good, and I like the feud that they're building here. That being said, this show was frustrating because there was some bad shit. There was some good shit. The main event was good. I like what they're doing for Full Gear, but it's frustrating. I hope the next few weeks of television are better. Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.